The blindfold was still warm against my eyes when I heard her whisper, "Don't be scared. Just trust me." I smiled because I knew that voice better than anyone. It belonged to my best friend, Mireia, the person who had been beside me through every bad decision, every sleepless night, and every heartbreak I thought would destroy me. What I didn't know was that in the next few seconds, she was going to change the way I understood our friendship forever. I could hear the tiny clinking of plates, the soft rustle of her sleeves, and the nervous rhythm of her breathing. Then she leaned closer. I expected a spoonful of something sweet. Instead, I felt the gentlest kiss against my lips. My entire body froze. She pulled away, and in a trembling voice she whispered, "Guess the flavor." Before I tell you what happened next, if you believe kindness can give people second chances and that sometimes love grows quietly inside the safest friendship, please like this video, share it with someone who believes in genuine connection, leave a comment, and subscribe to Wisdom Story House. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories like this to you. Mireia and I had been friends for almost 7 years, but there had always been something strangely unspoken between us. We met during a difficult season of my life when I had just lost my job and felt like everything I had planned for myself was collapsing. While everyone else told me to be strong, Mireia simply sat beside me on a rainy afternoon and said nothing. She brought 2 cups of hot chocolate, put one in my hands, and stayed until I stopped pretending that I was okay. From that day forward, she became my person. We celebrated small victories together, shared terrible jokes, walked through the city at night, and knew each other's secrets. Yet whenever someone asked if we were more than friends, we both laughed too quickly and changed the subject. Over time, I started noticing things I had been afraid to admit. The way Mireia looked at me when she thought I wasn't watching. The way she remembered tiny details I had forgotten telling her. The way she always saved the last piece of my favorite dessert, even when she loved it herself. But I convinced myself that I was imagining everything because the thought of losing her terrified me. Friendship felt safe. Love felt dangerous. I had already experienced what it was like to give someone your heart and watch them walk away with pieces of it. I wasn't ready to risk the one person who had never abandoned me. Then came the night of the taste test. Mireia had been unusually nervous all evening. She told me she had prepared several homemade desserts and wanted me to guess the flavors while blindfolded. I laughed and agreed. She tied the cloth around my eyes and guided me toward the kitchen table. I heard her moving around, but there was a nervousness in the room that I couldn't explain. When she kissed me, everything went silent inside my head. I could still feel the warmth of her lips after she pulled away. My heart was pounding so hard I was certain she could hear it. "Guess the flavor," she whispered again. I slowly reached for the blindfold, but before I could remove it, she caught my hand. For a moment neither of us moved. Then she said, "Strawberry." I laughed nervously. That wasn't strawberry. I know. I pulled the blindfold away. Mireia stood across from me, her cheeks red and her eyes filled with fear. On the table were several small desserts, but I barely noticed them. All I could see was the person who had been my best friend for years suddenly looking like she was preparing herself to lose me. "I'm sorry," she said. "I shouldn't have done that." I wanted to ask why. I wanted to laugh it off. I wanted to pretend it had never happened. Instead, I asked the question that had been hiding inside me for years. "Why did you?" She looked down at the floor. "Because I've been in love with you for a long time." The words hit me harder than the kiss. She told me she had kept it secret because she was afraid that if she confessed, our friendship would disappear. She had watched me date people who didn't appreciate me, watched me get hurt, and stayed silent because being beside me was better than not having me at all. The taste test had been her foolish, terrified attempt to finally tell me what words couldn't. I sat down, completely overwhelmed. Part of me was scared. Another part of me was relieved, because suddenly so many moments from the past made sense. The lingering looks. The saved desserts. The late-night calls that lasted until sunrise. The way she always seemed to know when something was wrong before I said a word. "I'm scared too," I admitted. Mireya looked up. "I'm scared that if we try this and it doesn't work, I'll lose you." She smiled sadly. "And I was scared that if I never told you, I'd spend my whole life wondering what could have happened." That sentence stayed with me. Sometimes we think protecting ourselves from heartbreak means refusing to take a chance. But sometimes the bigger heartbreak is never allowing ourselves to discover what could have been. I reached across the table and took her hand. "Then maybe we don't have to know everything tonight." Her fingers tightened around mine. "Maybe we just start with tomorrow." She smiled, and this time there was no fear in it. We didn't suddenly become a perfect couple. We didn't know what the future would bring. But the next morning, we met at our usual little cafe, ordered the same terrible coffee we always complained about, and sat across from each other laughing about how unbelievably awkward our first date was going to be. Months later, I realized something beautiful. The kiss that night hadn't created our love. It had simply revealed something that had been growing quietly for years. Sometimes the strongest relationships don't begin with fireworks or strangers meeting under perfect circumstances. Sometimes they begin with friendship, patience, kindness, and two people who already know each other's broken pieces. Mireya once told me that love is not always about finding someone who makes your heart race. Sometimes it is about finding the person who makes your heart feel safe enough to beat normally again. I think that was the flavor I was supposed to guess that night. Not strawberry. Not chocolate. Not vanilla. It was courage. And sometimes, courage tastes a lot like love. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone special, and subscribe to Wisdom Story House. It may seem like a small action, but it helps these stories reach someone who might need a little hope today. And before we end, I have one special request. Comment, "I believe in second chances," if you believe that sometimes the person standing beside us has been the one our heart was searching for all along. Because sometimes love doesn't arrive as a stranger. Sometimes it has been holding your hand for years, quietly waiting for you to finally notice.